Good early morning, everybody. It is about 1:45 in the morning here in Southwest Pennsylvania with another live podcast of Real Steel Sports with your marvelous host, the one, the only, James Krisner. Glad to be back. It's been a fun week. We had a great weekend of playoff games. I went 3-1 with my picks. The only game being wrong was the Bengals implosion against the San Diego Chargers. But now I'm back, and I got 4 divisional games to break down for this weekend. The winner of the Super Bowl will be one of the 8 teams remaining between the Saints, Seahawks, Niners, Panthers, Broncos, Chargers, Patriots, or Colts. Now, let's get started. The first game on the list is the game that I'm the most interested in, and that is my second favorite team to the Pittsburgh Steelers, the New Orleans Saints, going up to Seattle for a rematch with the NFC and Super Bowl favorite Seattle Seahawks. This is a message for anybody who thinks that the last game has any kind of impact. Excuse me. It doesn't. You can throw game 1 between these two teams out the window. Yes, I know Seattle got heavy pressure on Breeze. Yes, I know that the Saints really were overmatched against Russell Wilson. That was then and this is now. Sean Payton is not going to do this a second time. I'd be shocked if the Saints got beat by 27 points again. I would be, because there's just so much riding on this game, and the fact that the Saints in playoff games have always been clutch. If you look at it this way, the NFC, they pretty much are the mini tournament of the league's best defenses. Think about it. When it comes to points allowed, the number 1 ranked Seattle Seahawks host the number 4 ranked New Orleans Saints, and the number 2 ranked Carolina Panthers host the number 3 San Francisco 49ers. I think the difference in this game is going to be the running of the football, because Sean Payton only ran the ball 17 times in the first game against the Seahawks, and it didn't exactly net many yards. To put in perspective, he generated so little yardage on the ground in the first game that it was no wonder why New Orleans got beat by 27 points. Think about it. 17 rushing attempts in that game in Week 13 for a grand total of 44 yards. I mean, really. Breeze didn't even hit 200 yards passing. That's not going to happen again. You know, that ain't going to happen again. You're not going to get those kind of numbers. The Saints may only hit 85, 90 yards rushing, but to be honest, that's all they're going to need. Let's put it this way. Their over-under for me running the football this game, they got to hit at least 70. If they can hit 70, they got a real good chance of winning, because that makes Seattle's secondary come that much closer to the line of scrimmage. And if they're any closer playing run defense, play action for Breeze will open wide open, especially with targets like Kenny Stills and Marcus Colston and Jimmy Graham and Lance Moore and Robert Meacham. I look at this team and say, they've got the weapons to go into Seattle and beat them, but the question is, are they going to be able to get enough stops from the Seattle offense? In my opinion, the Seahawks defense is not going to win this football game. Seattle's offense has to show up and prove that Russell Wilson and Marshawn Lynch truly are for real. Yes, they've been to Pro Bowl the last few years, and yes, Russell Wilson has had probably the best start in terms of winning of any quarterback in NFL history when you think about it. I mean, his first season, they go the division round of the playoffs. I mean, this is for a third-round draft pick, too. And beat the Redskins, lose a very close, very slim game against the Atlanta Falcons, and he's just continued to get better and better. This is going to be a true test of Russell Wilson's character and see how far he's come. Because I don't think the Saints are going to allow Marshawn Lynch to run roughshod over them. I mean, in the first game, if you look at the first game between these two teams, Marshawn Lynch, he only ran for 45 yards. But then again, they took to the air in that game. I got a funny feeling in the playoff game today, now that it's officially Saturday, divisional Saturday. I got a funny feeling that the Seahawks are going to put more emphasis on running the football because they're going to want to keep the ball out of Brees' hands because they know in the playoffs he steps it up. If anything, the first game against the Saints might have actually hurt them more than it helped them, and it would have been the opposite for the Saints. The Saints got blown out. That game had no meaning because they're in the playoffs, they're going to Seattle, and honestly, if you look at the other two opponents, the Carolina Panthers and the San Francisco 49ers in the NFC, think about it. Regardless of whether they have to go to Carolina or San Francisco, that's not too big of an obstacle to overcome on the road, only because of the fact those two teams do not exactly have, great home field advantages. It ain't like they got to go to Seattle again, or they ain't got to go back to Philly. If anything, Philly's tougher to play in than San Francisco or Carolina, but that's not the point. The point is, the Saints went to CenturyLink Field in Seattle right after Thanksgiving, got their asses handed to them, 34-7. They got to see what the Seahawks were truly about. They got the chance to see that Legion of Boom secondary. They got a chance to see Russell Wilson and Marshawn Lynch. The Seahawks didn't get a chance to see much anything because the Saints playbook, they literally limited to only short pass plays. Going to that game and winning the box score a third time. Drew Brees in that game completed 23 of 38 passes. Now usually if Brees throws that many passes, he's going to hit you 2 and even 300 yards. He threw for $147. $147. Those numbers are not the kind of numbers that A, will get it done against Seattle, and B, are the numbers you're going to expect against the Seahawks. Graham is healthier than he was in that game. Colson should be more of a factor. I think they'll try to get Kenny Stills involved more. Think about it. This is a game not so much set up for the Saints to win, but let's put it this way. If Seattle's home field wasn't so much of an advantage, I'd be very 50-50 on this game. I would be. But Drew Brees is going to play better. Sean Payton got a chance to see these guys, got a chance to simulate what Seattle's like. He knows how different it's going to be this time around. But then the flip side, you have Seattle with Russell Wilson and Marshawn Lynch, and that secondary that just gets after you. I've never been more impressed with a secondary than I was with the Seahawks this season. Let's put it this way. They forced 44 sacks, I believe, which is 8th in the league. Now, that's not a bad total, but ideally you want to be getting after your quarterback more, your opponent's cornerback. But you look at them this year, they scored 417 points, 8th in the league, for 26 a game, allowed 231 for 14.5 per game. It's a difference of 11.6 per game. They were truly a dominant team, and they were the best team from start to finish this year. I know they had 2 losses to San Fran and to Arizona, but I don't look at those as really being anything major. There's only a few games that they really didn't play well this year. I mean, it's kind of funny because you look at some of the games that they've played this year. They blew San Francisco out of the building. They beat Carolina in the season opener, which is very impressive. Just this team as a whole, as a nucleus, as a team is so well-rounded. They don't have any big-name receivers, but yet Russell Wilson can still dissect you. Other than Marshawn Lynch in the running game, unless Russell Wilson's making a couple nice scrambles, they don't have much to boast for. But yet they still average over 130 yards a game rushing. They have a defense with 4 guys who have at least 5 sacks. That's not very impressive. But then again, you have a list of guys who can get after the quarterback. And the best part is the secondary, with safety Earl Thomas and cornerback Richard Sherman. In my opinion, at free safety and left cornerback respectively are the 2 best at their position in the league. And even their other safety, Cam Chancellor, was a Pro Bowler. I mean, regardless who starts at the other position due to suspensions or injuries with Brandon Brown or Walter Thurman and whatnot, but the secondary is what makes this defense go, and that's what Drew Brees is going to have to be careful for. He didn't throw a pick in the first game, but But if he doesn't make the right read, he could very easily throw a pick six in this game. The key stat for me that I want to see is how many times New Orleans runs the football. And I said that. Because if New Orleans can manage 70 yards rushing, I think they've got a really good chance to win this game, because here's what people aren't putting in. Here's what people are forgetting about. It's that they don't need to run for 140, 150 yards of a balanced offense. A lot of people think that. Not really. At least because with the Saints, because of how good Drew Brees is. Like, even Peyton Manning led the Colts to a Super Bowl appearance with no running game to speak of. The 3 years the Colts went to the Super Bowl, in 2006 when they won it, they were 18th in rushing and averaged 110 yards per game. I must be making a mistake. I thought they went a different year. My apology. And the 2009 Colts that lost the Super Bowl to the Drew Brees and the Saints averaged 81 yards a game for a grand total of 1,294 in the season, dead last in the league. What that should tell you is that you don't need a great running game as long as you got a good quarterback. And I don't believe that that's going to be an issue here. The Saints need to run the football, and the Seahawks do too. With the Seahawks, Marshawn Lynch has to have a big game, because if the Saints can really shut him down, I know they limited him to 16 carries and 45 yards in the previous meeting, but Russell Wilson was just sparkling that night. He was just, nothing he could do was wrong. I don't think you're going to get that kind of game from him again. Like, you can get a really good game. You might get maybe 65% completions, 2 touchdowns, 250 yards. Marshawn Lynch has to have at least a buck for this game, really. I think he does, because unless the Saints just go out and shit all over themselves, which I don't really see happening, I think this is a game where if the Saints can move the football more or less on the ground with a better ability than the last game, because just looking at the last game, 17 carries for 44 yards, that just about sum it up. Then they've got a real good chance. The bottom line is, for this game, it's time to make my call now. I really do hate to say it, but I got to go with the Seahawks. As much as I don't want my Saints to lose, I got to go with the Seahawks. And there's a really good reason, and it's that home field advantage. The decibels that are generated in CenturyLink Field, formerly known as Quest Field. The deafening noise orchestrated by that Seattle home crowd that is over-caffeinated with their Starbucks coffee. Honestly, I mean, I've just made a joke about them, but if you're in Seattle, I have to give you a ton of credit. You guys, in terms of home field environment, are the best fan base out there. I've always felt the Steelers, the Packers had the best home fan bases throughout the world and throughout the nation, but in terms of concentrated in one stadium, I got to give Seattle the edge, because you guys are just nuts. But for this game, I'm going with Seattle. I say 30-27. I say it's a close game. It's a much closer game than last time, and I think the Saints will keep this game close. I don't see a blowout like we did last time. I like to think of it this way. I don't think Seattle's is riding as high off of, like, in terms of peak performances as they were in that game. And I think New Orleans, being with the 6th seed on the road, I think did them some good. Going to Philadelphia was a huge confidence booster for them. It was so big to go into Philly and get that road win. And Philly ain't an easy place to play, not because of the Eagles' record there, just because of the fact that it's Philly. What do you expect? They're nuts. But my opinion for this game is I got to go with Seattle, as much as I don't want to see them win. I say 30-27. I say it comes down to a Hauschka field goal, and I think he kicks it, and I think the time expires and the Seahawks get a win. I really don't want to see that happen. I'd love to see my Saints go win this game, go on the road in the title game, win that, and then go to the Super Bowl and become the 4th team to win all 4 road playoff games to win a Super Bowl. I'd love to see that, but it's not going to happen. Okay, that was Game 1, my predictions. I hope everybody enjoyed it. It's almost about 1 o'clock a.m., and when I come back, I will break down the other NFC divisional playoff game between the Carolina Panthers and the San Francisco